I'm start, Josh.
Okay. Call the meeting to order. Guys, for the allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
My name is Josh Kent. I'm the Deputy Supervisor for the Town of Byron. Supervisor Hensel was not able to make it this evening. She had a prior commitment. I guess we will ask the board to introduce yourselves, even though it's almost June. Go ahead.
Fred Plysick, Councilman.
Byron Pilcher, Councilman.
Jeff Thompson, Councilman.
Nathan Knickerbocker, Councilman.
Sorry, Christy Murphy, Town Clerk.
Silence your cell phones, please, if you haven't already done so. And with that, we have no minutes to review, so Mr. Councilman Wilcher, Councilman Thompson, you called the meeting?
Yes, we called the meeting 10 days ago after speaking with the accountant that the supervisor had directed them to not pay the town clerk's health care portion of her paycheck. So when two council members call a meeting, it's up to the supervisor to call that meeting within 10 days, which the supervisor did not, and took it upon myself to schedule the meeting for tonight, which is the 10th day. So, in a prior meeting, the supervisor had told me I made her sign an illegal check, getting the clerks in lieu of payment caught up. And speaking with the bookkeeper, that this is not an illegal check, and paying the clerk is not illegal, because it wasn't in a certain line item on the budget. It's in our account. I mean, the money's there, so it's not an illegal transaction. Since then, I believe the supervisor has acknowledged this, and the clerk is getting paid regularly. So there is not a need to transfer money tonight.
Okay.
I believe we are, the supervisor's meeting with the accountant tomorrow. And I also invited the accountant to our June 12th board meeting to go over necessary transfers. Anything else, Martin?
No, just what we said. We're glad that our concern was there that, prior to this setting up the meeting, it was our understanding that the in lieu of was not going to get paid. But since we or Jeff talked and found out that it is, and that's only been taken care of within the last 7 days, I think, right, Jeff, prior to us having a conversation to get this meeting set up.
Yeah. I'm not sure when Candace changed her mind. So, it just, so many instances like this. The majority of my time working on the town board this year has been trying to reinforce decisions the board has already made when the supervisor takes it upon herself to go against our resolutions and our motions, and it's just getting out of hand. It's crazy. She thinks she can do whatever she wants. So I've drafted a motion of no confidence in Town Supervisor Hensel, which I will share. I make a motion of no confidence in Town Supervisor Hensel. Supervisor Hensel has underhandedly acted in contempt of wishes of the majority of the town board on numerous occasions in her short tenure in her role. Specifically, number one, Supervisor Hensel has knowingly and willfully defied board resolutions relating to the payroll of the appointed town clerk, Christy Murphy, due to personal feelings regarding in lieu of payments as stated in multiple board meetings this year. Illegally entered the town clerk's vault and removed the boxes, documents related to Water District Number 7 after a very clear discussion about town law and document controlled by the town clerk in the April 24, 2024 board meeting. Independently changed the pay amounts different and lower than what was approved by the town board to be advertised, resulting in questioning of the board by town residents. Acted in an obstructive manner, requesting that the accounting firms stop payment of the in lieu of payments prior to the May 8th, 2024 board meeting to the town clerk due to the budget concerns, and made no resolution to move monies knowing that the town clerk's pay would be disrupted and short again. The town board members were not notified of this change request, and it was only found out during a budget discussion by Councilman Thompson with the accounting firm. After learning of this on 5/10/24, I and Councilman Dilcher immediately requested a special meeting in writing and via email to move monies in the budget so that payroll would not be disrupted. Number 5, and has spread misinformation about the nature of these topics due to her inability to conduct board meetings in a calm and professional manner, causing mass confusion among board members and residents that has resulted in a culture of hostility at the town board meetings. In her short time as town supervisor, Ms. Hensel has ignored the board majority and acted in a rogue manner independently from the majority's decision, as shown a clear lack of professionalism expected from this role. Supervisor Hensel has allowed town residents to rummage through the vault that contains confidential information and access town computers as she began her role as town supervisor in January of 2024. With no communication with the board that assistance was needed, Supervisor Hensel has shown numerous disrespectful mannerisms toward other town board members, including comments under her breath, eye rolls, negative facial expressions, and rude comments directly to board members, with one in particular telling a board member, "Oh, shut up, will you?" at the April 24th, 2024 board meeting. She stated at the same meeting that there are things that she wants to do differently than in the past and not quite business as usual. And if there are people that don't like that, she will continue to pursue those things with or without the board members, and there are things she can do without them having to do things. Good thing, I guess. She states as she wraps up in this comment, this statement in combination with all of the above has led board members to believe that this non-compliance behavior will continue in the future, resulting in this vote of no confidence. This list only contains some of the most significant infractions.
So, as deputy supervisor, I can conduct the meeting, but I don't get a vote in anything. I'm also not exactly sure what I can or cannot say, but since I am a resident of the town, I guess I guess I have some questions. They kind of go all the way back to some of the statements I've made in the past, in that serious topics seem to get brought up without any kind of forward warning. It was my understanding that I was coming here to supervise a meeting about a possible budget transfer, which, again, you and I have done for the last 4 years, which is what I researched before I came up here. I watched the meeting from last month to make sure I had it straight in my head, and looked at some other things. But it seems to me that that issue was resolved a few days ago anyways. So instead of canceling this meeting and bringing up these concerns at a regular town meeting, you're going to go ahead with this vote now. Which again seems to be, I'm not saying whether it's warranted or not. My concern is still this process that the board continues to continues to do fairly significant things. That's not what this meeting was called for.
It was called to conduct why basically we had to call the meeting. We had to call this meeting because the supervisor once again went against the board resolution not to pay the clerk.
So when did she do a stop payment on the check that she signed?
Before our last board meeting.
So it tried to get the,
Josh, this continues to go on and on and on. You know, I said that, and I know a lot of the public, that they look at us as being the bad guys. But you know, when it comes down to it, if there's, 4 votes that we have and there's 1 against and the 5, that's as far as the...
we don't need, no one, I'm sorry, I shouldn't interrupt you, Byron, go ahead.
Just the norm, whatever, you keep saying what you don't know, or the regulations. This is all we know, I guess. This is what we're, everybody talks about it. You talk about it, and if you have 5 people on the board and you vote for it, and the 4 of the people vote for it and the 1 doesn't, that's it. Rules, that's what the rules that I only know that we
You
have.
just need to have 3 to 2.
Well, so the majority, so regardless, Josh, I'm not here to argue it. Again, it's a...
But I don't think voting no or not being in line with the rest of the board is reason for someone to be removed. Like everybody up here, with the exception of me at this moment, was either elected, I guess I was appointed, you guys all approved me, was elected by people in the town. And it's not, you're not elected to say that I'm going to go along with everybody else that's up on the board. You're elected because you're going to represent.
Josh, this has been a fight right from the beginning when we
I've
started.
been
I've been there and watched it, and every time we come here, again, it turns out that like the 4 of us are the bad guys. We're just here on a public duty that we're doing. And every time that we go to do something, it's a complete chaos. And it's...
I'm not saying that what you guys are doing tonight, I'm not saying that the motion is necessarily bad. I'm saying the method that you guys have gone through a couple different times now.
And that whole method thing, I guess, give me the manual on the method. How is the method supposed to be read up? You keep bringing up this method thing. I don't know what method that you keep bringing up, but if there is a, whether it has nothing to do with your political affiliation, it shouldn't be. It has to do with your views.
Well, you just said to me that you were going with what you know, and what you know before was everybody up here would have this discussion and then everybody would vote and all 5 should go along. I'm going along with how the previous supervisor ran their meetings over the last 4 years, and what I saw at that time. I've also attended the majority of the town board meetings since I moved back into town. So I've seen a number of different supervisors, I've seen a number of different meetings, I've seen a number of different boards. Very rarely was significant items brought forth and then put forth to a vote or a resolution on the very night it was brought up in new business. Very rarely. I can't remember another time.
We did it a lot.
Yeah,
We did it a lot. I think.
but this board, Actually, you know what?
Can I
Well,
I'm asking, I gotta do it by the rules. You guys want to allow public comments or no?
No, we set those rules and they have to say that they end, that's all. But I would like to jump in here on this though and just point out that what you're saying is exactly the reason why we are landed in this situation. First of all, a vote of no confidence does not remove the supervisor. It is simply a statement that the board has no confidence in her to do the ability, sorry, let me rephrase. It is simply the board stating we do not have confidence in her ability to do the job she's supposed to do, number one. Number two, like Martin pointed out, you keep talking about the method and the process, but you've yet again switched what you're saying. You went from saying you shouldn't do this to, well, it very rarely happens. They are not, it's two different points that you just made. We would not have to bring up major business this way if the business in which we are bringing up was not already being done. For example, the only reason we are doing this vote of no confidence is because the supervisor herself chose to act in all the reasons that Jeff just listed. So I don't think it is exactly in good faith to go, well, no, you didn't tell us all about it. Well, I hate to tell you, I didn't find out about all this until last week when we had to call the meeting. And again, when you say...
Wait, I'm sorry. I'll let you finish. I don't want to lose...
Well, if you want clarification, ask.
Well, no, I was going to say, you know, when this issue came up last week and the meeting was called, was the purpose of the meeting for a budget transfer or for this motion?
It was to address all of it. And the point still remains that it was about the budget transfer, sure, but it was also to discuss the reasons for the budget transfer, which is what we are currently doing. And this is on top of the fact I say to you again, we are only bringing this motion because of actions taken by the supervisor. And we wouldn't have to bring this motion up, and we wouldn't have to do it in the way in which you are taking issue with, if she didn't do this.
The last 4 years we spent on the board together, how many times did the supervisor act on his own against the board after we made a resolution?
I don't have any other information like that in front of me. This is all very public, it's on the recordings and everything else. I think the only issue that I had with the previous supervisor was the appointment of Mr. Dilcher, and not based on who it was, but the process in which it was done.
You know, Josh, and you bring that up, and so again, I know that the young girl sitting right next to you, so when you feel that way, Candy feels the same way about her. And it just shows the reflection of what this young girl is trying to do. And it just seems like to us that she's trying to do whatever she can do to make it as miserable as she can for her. That's my opinion. And for Jeff to make his motion, I'd like to second the motion for Jeff.
Okay. I don't have a say in this, but there's a motion and a second. I don't have a vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any other new business? Any public comments?
What happens to that motion now? It's just on record, that's as far as it goes?
Just on the record, yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I can't have my glasses on, go ahead.
That's okay. So January 3rd, when y'all find out that the old clerk was not going to be here, did you guys come down to help Candy? You said she was rummaging through things and had people rummaging through things. Who came down to help her?
What's that?
Who came down to help her?
I did.
You did not come down and help her with emails. Did you help her look for things?
She never asked.
They couldn't even get into the passwords, they couldn't get into the computers. So now for you to say that she was rummaging around, and now...
No, I didn't say she was.
Yes, you did. She had people rummaging around and you were looking for things. Excuse me, I'm talking. I have my 3 minutes, right?
You got 2 minutes left.
So she had to have people come down here to help her because she couldn't even get in the building to begin with. And then, now you say you've been 15 years on the board here and you've never seen such chaos and calamity. How does it make sense for you guys then to allow the old clerk to come back as deputy clerk?
Yeah, I guess you'd have to ask Chrissy, she's the one that hired.
So where do you think the chaos and calamity came from?
Well, I can tell you, because
From not having a town clerk here to assist the new town supervisor?
well, you asked a question I'd like to answer, right?
Well, yes.
So I will answer your question, because you and I have had this conversation already,
Yes, we have.
Terry, and I apologize, got a little contentious there, it shouldn't be. You should be allowed your 3 minutes uninterrupted, so I apologize for that. Where does the chaos come from was the question, and I think it's a very simple fact of, I would use the analogy if I had a rope with me, but I don't, where we have one group acting one way, one group acting another way, and we're pulling in two separate directions, and that is what's creating the tension that is in the town hall. So, when you bring up that the town clerk left, I had no say in that. It wasn't my choice, had nothing to do with me. But when you come and say, well, why didn't you guys come down and help Candy? Why didn't you go to help Candy? I'm going to say to you what I said to you before. I was here. I stood in the supervisor's office, looked her right in the eye and said, if you need anything from me, you let me know.
You
And
said that
how many
in
times?
February.
In January too. I told you
So
January.
it's all of January when none of
And
you
I
came
will
down here
ask
to help
you,
her at all.
well, I will ask you this. How many times did she call me, or did she tell me that she needed help with all these things?
Well, I know she was here at the board meeting saying that she didn't have access to things.
And I told her, if you need my help, you have to ask. She never reached out.
So she has to say, please come and help me?
No, she just has to say, hey, Nate, I'm having a hard time with something. Can you come down and help me? And I would
So
have been
don't you
down
not
there.
think it's a kick in the face for her to have our old clerk back, like the savior to the town?
Well, I'd have to ask you why'd you vote for her too then?
What's that?
Why'd you vote for her too then? 5 votes for yes to bring her back.
Because she
why-
was still trying to keep the peace with you guys, and of course you got every time you come in here, it's all adversarial.
Okay, real quick,
Okay.
even using his response, that's your 3 minutes, okay?
Well, I don't think my response should count towards her time. I don't think
I gave her a bonus of what we
Okay,
were talking.
alright.
So,
Can I?
if you want, it's public comments, or
Yeah, I understand there may be people against me so A, that's my choice who to bring back for my deputy, or who to bring in for my deputy. That had nothing to do with anybody up here on the board. It is not unheard of to bring, whatever happened before me, happened before me. There's nothing I can do about it. It is not my personal vengeance or anything. I have always been hired to do a job no matter where I work. In order to do the best job, you train with somebody. It is not unheard of for previous town clerks to come back because they want to retire, but the new town clerk doesn't know anything. I reached out to...
Retiring. She quit.
she gets her time too.
Mhm.
I'm just letting you know where I'm at. If I'm going to succeed, Deb is my route of succession in this position and where I'm at. And if you were to ask me, I think that that's also good for the town. I don't want to not know my job. Whether you think she did a good job or not, I can't speak to that. Every time I've asked her something, she knows. She knows where things are. I couldn't possibly, and I've said this before, in good conscience, hire somebody off the street with the amount of dysfunction that we have here and knowledge. How am I supposed to train anybody that I don't even know what I'm training them on? And my other town clerks in the other offices have been fantastic, but there's nothing like having somebody here. So I understand if people are upset about it, but that was the best decision for me, and that was the best decision for the town, as far as I can see, for me to succeed and get my feet planted where they need to be with as much knowledge as I can get.
Thanks, Chrissy.
Go ahead.
So I'm just wondering, so you did this tonight. I'm just wondering what we're doing going from here. I'm hoping that somebody's got a plan or going forward to help with your group and to help the community out here to understand what's going on here too. I'm hoping that we're not just gonna leave it like this and we get to a better place.
And I think a few of us have said it almost every meeting. I know I have myself. This is not the business that we should be discussing up here. There is so much town business that residents deserve. That's what residents deserve, is to know our town business.
So I would just hope that somehow we get some kind of
And Eric,
response.
that's exactly, and thank you for saying that.
Just go forward.
You know, and that's what, and I said before, we need to get back to the basics. Instead of arguing this is childish, petty things that we have no business, we shouldn't be sitting here tonight. Our meetings should be on working on our waters, our sewers, and the people that are working for us. So let's get back to the basics. They're worried about a whole lot of other things that, boy, we need a whole lot of help on just getting back to what is the base of what we have. We haven't even touched on that since this thing has started. It's been a complete nightmare in every meeting we come to. It's a joke. The people don't watch this stuff because they want to learn. They watch it because it's a joke. It's a laughing matter, no matter where you go. No one calls me up and says, Martin, you know what, that meeting was really good. They call the same, boy, they don't even watch TV. They go watch this stuff. It's a joke. It's
and
terrible.
our town doesn't deserve that.
But no, our town doesn't deserve it.
I would like to, just so we got some sort of response back on, what a plan
And Eric,
is.
to answer your question, I hope we can. You know what, I really do. To get back to, and again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but get back to the basics. We have a water system we have a water guy out there that he's not even in the town of Byron. He's working in Rochester somewhere. It has nothing to do with it. We're backward in there. We have a sewer system that's going. We got our town health, all they've got, what is the most important people? Our people that work with us and do things. If you don't have them, we have nothing. And just with Supervisor Hansel, she has not brought that to the table and brought everybody together to work together. It seems like every time we go to do something, it's totally against everything that everybody else is doing. And I'm fed up with it. It's a joke. It's a complete joke. And thank you for the
I
question.
left the last meeting in May and honestly thought to myself, maybe this is something we can build on. And I think some of the other councilmen said the same thing. And we don't even get breathing room, and here she is trying to take her pay away and violating resolutions, going in the vault, taking what she wants, leaving it locked in her office for days. Where do you start with that? How do you come together?
Jim, before you do, I just want to comment
Can I
on this real quick.
respond? I want to respond.
Yeah,
I
fair.
don't know you, would you please identify yourself?
Eric Richenberg. Been a resident for a long time.
Okay.
Forever.
Yeah. And
Sorry,
That's all right.
never
That's
met
all
you.
right.
and Eric,
When I first saw this thing, I thought, maybe the best way to do is to sit down with Candy and the four of us and talk about issues. And you know what, we can't do that privately. It's got to be done at a public meeting.
Right.
So my response to you was, yeah, we need to sit down with Candy, we need to talk about what's going on and how we need to do things differently, but we can't do that legally until this is brought up in
Understand.
public in a meeting. Okay.
Understand. Well, and the other thing is too, she got voted to this position, so somebody had confidence, but it's been overshadowed by some other things, but I think it certainly can work together and get back to a place where you can go forward.
I agree.
I agree too.
And Eric, I just wanted to say too, just because I have my own thing as well. My goal going forward is honestly to just keep doing what I've been trying to do. Getting the zoning law revisions done, working on the water districts, working on the sewer thing. This is what I want to do. I have minor projects as well that I think are important, and I understand that perhaps Supervisor Hensel has the same idea. But I always point out when I discuss it with people the difference between how I've gone about my business versus how she has gone about her business. So as an example, I was on the planning board for a year before I got elected to this office right here. The planning board had 2 vacancies and no alternates. They had no progress being made on the revisions. They had no contact with the new attorney. It was absolutely incomplete, to put it mildly. Nothing was going to get through it. Now, I could have gone out and said, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to, here's my opinion on the zoning law revisions. But instead, I let the process do what it's supposed to do. We filled the positions on the planning board. We filled the alternates. I talked to the chairman of the planning board committee. I got him in contact with the attorney. We got the attorney to have comments on the zoning law revisions. And it's because of that that things have moved along. Because I didn't just go out on my own and do whatever I wanted. And to your point where she was elected because people had confidence she does the job, I don't dispute that at all. I am not going to sit here and tell you that I think the residents of Byron, when they voted, in any way, I may disagree or what have you, I don't think it's necessarily a mistake. They put their trust in us and in her. And as much as that trust is to come to us, it has to go to her. And I just have to sit here and say, to what Fred said, I've met with Supervisor Hensel, and I have sat down with her, and we have had conversations, and I told her, I have no intention. It's not about whether or not I like her or I hate her. It's not personal. It's strictly professional. To go out to an accounting firm and say, don't pay that employee what she is entitled to because I don't like it, which is where this all started, is unacceptable. It is equally unacceptable. And I pointed this out in my notes, that at that May meeting, she told this town there was a $23,000 budget deficit. That was not true at all, because we get found out from the accountant that there was money on the line, just not on the line that is for our internal purposes only. I can't have confidence somebody's going to do their job when they are not doing the job they are already supposed to do. And this is compounded by the fact that whenever it is brought up, it turns into a, well, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? It is not my job to handhold her through what she needs to do. It is my job to help her if she asks for it, and she never asked. So that's my answer to your question.
Is there any other public, Jim? You didn't use 3 minutes before, so I'll let you go.
I didn't hear that.
You didn't use up the 3 minutes before, so I'll let you go.
Okay. I didn't know you only got one shot.
Yeah, it was a couple meetings ago.
Well, anyway, I don't necessarily disagree with all the things that are in that motion. My question is, where do you go from here? Because, here's the whole board has gotten together with the absence of the supervisor, but you're dumping on the supervisor. She's going to know about this, watching the minutes or in some manner. She's probably not going to be happy about it, and it's going to just cause more turmoil. So my question is, where do you go from here? What is the solution to this? Now that you've let the cat out of the bag, so to speak, you got to have some kind of a plan in place to contain whatever is going to come out of this. And I'd like to know what that is.
And me too. You know what? And that's a very good question. Because I'm back to the basics. When we have a meeting, let's have a meeting that has some grit to it. What are we talking about? What are we going to do? And when we do have something, we agree to something, stick to what we said. It's every time we turn around and it seems like we say something and Jeff keeps bringing it up that's not what we agreed on, Jim. That's exactly where we're at with it. That's our point here tonight is, look at it. We're going to have a meeting. Let's get back to the basics. Have a meeting with something that's really about something and not just smoke and mirrors. What is the meaning for a meeting? Get done with that part. Start back with what really makes sense.
She's going to be on the defensive, no question about it.
So what's the difference? It's been like that right from day one.
Without you weren't in here when I said the silence your phone. Yeah. Gentlemen, if I may, without rehashing everything that we've all heard for the last 3 meetings, which I feel like this part of the meeting kind of devolves into, I think the answer to your question is communication and open communication, which I think has been lacking. And I think at some point there needs to be some stepping back from the battle line, so to speak, on all sides, and again, work towards the things that are in the best interest of the town.
I think you need to confront her directly with what you have written down.
I don't think confrontation is, I think a letter is fine. We have plenty of confrontation in this town. I think that Mr. Dilcher is correct. There are some very major issues that are facing this town. Issues that were brought up, including the sewer funding, the water districts, and everything else. And one of the things that popped into my head was it felt, I don't know how many meetings ago was it that you guys were talking about the payment for the installation in the museum. That was like March, roughly?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. For the insulation?
Yeah, because it was a shortfall of like $1,700 or something like that, $1,600.
1750.
Yeah, and one of the things that I came away from that meeting with was that we spent more time, or the board spent more time discussing that $1,750 shortfall than we spent discussing possible funding options for the sewer project, which I think is, while the museum is very cool, and there's lots of nice stuff in there, and the installation is important, the sewer project is going to have a much greater impact on most of the residents in Byron than whether the museum is insulated or not.
And Josh, that's exactly my point.
Right, and I think that that is what needs to happen, and there needs to be communication, and while there is animosity and some mistrust amongst everybody up on the board, not everybody, I shouldn't say that, amongst certain members on the board, you don't need to like everybody you serve on a board with, and you certainly don't need to trust them, but you do need to work together. Go ahead.
I just wonder if maybe this motion, or whatever you call it, of, you know, that you're not in favor of her ways, maybe that'll open her eyes a little bit, that it's more specific, it's a bigger sheet of paper, you know, there's a lot more going on than what the town knows. Is there such thing as a mediator for a board and a supervisor? That they could sit with you? I mean, at this point, she's not going to give an inch for what she believes, whether she's right, wrong, or indifferent. It's her personality, she's not going to. And for all the people who see all these things that she doesn't see that she obviously sees that she has change in mind. But you have to do baby steps with change. And I don't think that's her personality. So if she realized just what upheaval everybody's feeling, maybe this will open her eyes that she'll, you know, I mean, hopefully it will let her know that people don't want to throw her out. They want to work with her, not against her all the time.
I think we would all like to see the meetings get back to the boring and very low count views,
Yeah.
as opposed to what's been happening as of late. Are there any other public
Quick one. The in lieu amount that is in question and for the last several meetings, what is the specific per month amount that is the big basis of this?
Well, that last check was the back payment, right? Was that
Yes.
the last one
But-
went back?
Yes.
Yeah, not the back payment, what payment,
I don't have the budget in front of me or anything like that.
but it wasn't in the line
But it was,
item.
but it was something that was already voted on that we agreed.
Right, but we don't need to rehash everything.
But the
She was looking for a
meeting-
specific amount.
Right, the meeting that was advertised in the paper was specific of the in lieu amount, so I would like to, as a public
Ask what
meeting,
the amount is.
what is the amount that is being paid per month that has been questioned in the basis of this meeting?
I think it's annually. And don't take my 3 minutes away.
It is per paycheck,
Are you doing the math?
yes,
So it is an annual figure then.
yes.
What's the difference? Cheaper than insurance. Cheaper than insurance, for sure.
The total amount is $24,047.28.
24,000, and that is the in lieu payment,
Yes.
not including the salary that you receive.
Correct.
Just so then there's clarity, that's all I'm asking.
Yep.
So roughly $200 a month.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Then the other question that I have is on the zoning law, the zoning
Revisions, yeah.
revisions that you were talking about. At the December meeting, the former town attorney was working on the revisions. Now the zoning meetings that I did attend, the zoning board assigned the new attorney to make the revisions.
No, so that's just a misunderstanding. It wasn't to make new revisions, it was to review the revisions of Paul Boylan, so that way she could offer her own comments and go through it with them as well. She did not make new revisions, minus like if she went through it and was like, oh, you know, we gotta do this, but they gave them to her to look through Paul Boylan's suggestions.
If I remember correctly, Paul had never actually, planning board had never actually made it through working on all of Paul's revisions. I don't think Paul completed all of his revisions. So once Paul retired or stepped away from representing the town, then the rest of those, the few things that were still kind of up in the air, we're looking for clarification from the planning board to the new town council for their input.
Okay, because I'm just reviewing of what the statements of the board made of what Candace hasn't been doing. Okay, and that was one of them that, that you stated earlier, that you had problems with the zoning board. I'm just trying to...
No,
I think his comment was more on how the board positions were filled.
No, my comment was on the manner in which I addressed issues that I needed to address. In no way did I say that Supervisor Hensel had anything to do with the zoning law revisions.
No.
I was making the point, as Renee pointed out, if Candace wants to do change, it is okay. I am okay with her wanting to do change. Whether or not I agree with the change she wants to do is a different question. But I point out that the manner, because I want change too. There's things I want to change. But I'm not going to go out on my own with disregard for the rest of the board, and then when caught in doing so, cry foul and act as though, you know, it's anything more than what it is. So when I spoke about the revisions, I merely was making the point that one of the things I wanted to get done was get those zoning law revisions done, because as Josh said, when I was still on the planning board when those came in, we just started looking at them. And then they were going to be completely stalled because Paul Boylan retired and we had to get a new attorney. And like I said, rather than just say, well, let's not worry about the attorney, let's start going on the revisions ourselves, I got the chairman in contact with the attorney who passed it on. And I'm just saying, I worked within the process because the process does allow this. But when you do not approach the process in good faith, meaning if you don't come to it and say, all right, this is what I'd like to discuss this, let's work this out, you've already misstepped, in my opinion, because I have no intention of just letting people do whatever they want.
Okay, thank you for the clarification that you contacted the attorney for the planning board.
No,
Thank
I did
you.
not.
You just stated that.
No, I said I got the chairman in contact with the attorney.
Okay.
I did not contact the board. I got them in contact with each other.
All right. Now, the last question that I have is on your January 10 minutes.
We're over the 3 minutes.
That's because Nate keeps on...
Even with him talking, I think we're over, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and the other comment.
You wanted your 3.
Wait, I do have a comment. Can I have a correction regarding the in lieu of? Sorry for a year. I was not adding correctly. The year is $16,031.52. Now, keep in mind that that's the total to me. If I took the insurance, which obviously I am offered as well for the family plan, it is $30,000.
So we're saving half.
Right. 16,31.52. So just so everybody knows the price, the difference. I just want to correct that.
I think you guys are beating that horse. Leave me in the little alone. I know you guys are. It's sickening to watch this undermining all the time. You guys are doing a hell of a job. She needs to work with you folks. To say that you're going to move this town forward without you, cuddle up, you guys. You need 4 votes. You need at least 3 of you. Okay? It's wrong. Don't act like the victim if you do that behind the people's back and then come out and say you're the victim. That's not good. Change is good. And I'm not saying it isn't. But you need to do it. You got to work with people. From going from the private sector to the government is very, very slow. And it's different. And you better adapt to it or it's going to hurt you. Okay? I commend you guys, all of you, for standing up for the people. And as far as we know who was in the safe that shouldn't have been in there and come out with a real grin on his face. But it was a cool thing to do. He could be here in like the olden days. That's not right. Okay? That's not right at all. And it is Christy's safe. It's her room. And so is that records room. How many minutes I got left, Josh?
You got 30 seconds, dude.
30 seconds? Well, I want to say that Chrissy's doing a hell of a job. As far as for Deb, I'm going to borrow Davy's 3 minutes too. He said I could.
Just whisper it in his ear.
That was a smart move. It would be like doing exercises the wrong way and never lose weight. You do it the right way. How much have you learned from Deb?
A lot.
A lot, both of them.
My confidence level.
There's
is-
nobody in this, I shouldn't say that, I won't take it away from other town clerks. She is very, very smart. She's knows what the hell she's doing, okay? So leave that one alone too. You gotta quit beating that horse. How stupid. Let's grow up, let's not be kids, and let's move this town forward.
Okay, I gave you some extra time too. Anybody else?
Josh, I owe you one.
Yeah.
No.
Anybody else? You guys content?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you all.
Thanks, Josh.